this is going to be a huge call. Certainly the Everton players, their first reaction was to appeal here for a penalty. Craig Pawson is our VAR official this evening. Now, Everton have lined up to take a corner, but we are checking for a possible penalty for handball.
Well, if you look at the Leicester City players now, I mean, there's nobody actually around the referee, Mark, so I'm just wondering if they think they've got away with this one, but they looked as if there was contact with the hand. Michael Keane has got his eyes on the ball, he's trying to head it towards goal, and it looked a penalty from where we are. I've seen a replay of it. I mean, your arm, it's not in a natural place there. He's lent it in front of Michael Keane's head because he knows that he's second best in winning the ball.
Yeah, he's almost trying to lever himself in front of the attacker, isn't he? The arm across the chest, but it was high. It's hit his heart. It looks like he's hit his arm, but still the wait goes on here. Everton, who lead by a goal to nil. Richarlison with that goal inside 10 minutes. Is this going to be another big chance at Goodison? The wait goes on. I'm not sure how many times you actually need to look at this.
I just don't know if they need a different angle from that, Mark. I mean, you can see that indeed he's reaching his arm across Michael Keane, but it's in an unnatural position. He's got his arm in front of Michael Keane because he's going to head it back towards goal. That has to be a penalty.
Well, Brendan Rodgers has just trudged back to his dugout and sat down. Carlo Ancelotti is looking on, and now the keeper Schmeichel has come out to speak to the referee. Now we've got a different angle here.
Another replay of it there, and I don't know if it's Michael Keane's arm or Ndidi's. It's very, very close. Ndidi has actually, with the intent, tried to put his hand in the way, but I'm not quite sure if it's his or Michael Keane's hand that actually touched the ball in the penalty area.
Well, it's a tough one, this, for the officials. I've had to look at it numerous times, and still the wait goes on here.
I think the longer it goes on, I think it more falls into the favour of Leicester City because they can't make their mind up whose arm it is. But, you know, we're looking at pink shirts and we're looking at blue shirts here, so...
Well, here's the decision, and it will be a penalty.
Had to be.
David Kirk points to the spot, and this is a disastrous start for Leicester City. And Richarlison will leave the ball. It's Gylfi Sigurdsson who's rolled the ball up to the spot. Kasper Schmeichel, who saved a penalty, of course, against Brighton recently. Well, he could do with saving another one here because Leicester City a goal down, and Sigurdsson will wait. The Icelandic international has only scored once in the Premier League this season. Short run up, here he comes, right-footed, and rolls it straight down the middle. Everton lead at Goodison Park by 2-0, and Ndidi's handball is penalised, and this is a wonderful start for the Toffees and Carlo Ancelotti.
Super start for Carlo Ancelotti and his Everton players, and thoroughly deserved because they've taken the game to Leicester City. They've tried to get on the front foot when they've had the opportunity, and that is just ludicrous from an experienced centre midfield player who's been, you know, he's had lots of plaudits this season in Ndidi, but he knew he was second best to that ball coming into the area there. Michael Keane got the step on him, and Ndidi just tried to, you know, reach his arm across the front of Michael Keane just to put him off a little bit, but you knew it was going to go straight to VAR, and I said straight away before we saw it, I thought it was a penalty. Leicester City are panicking, and they've got it all to do, and this Everton team who are absolutely flying, I don't see any way back for them.
Well, this is a tough start. 16 on the clock here, and it is Everton 2, Leicester City 0. You're live on TalkSport 2. And Leicester, well, I'll tell you what, the supporters of Manchester United, Chelsea and Wolverhampton Wanderers will be delighted with this at the moment, because it's leaving the door open for the chasing pack in the race for the top four. Here now is Keane, will just clear his lines downfield. You go back to that chance for Jamie Vardy, that miscontrol 2 minutes in, and it could be a big moment in this match.
It's what it comes down to, isn't it? Certain moments in games where you find yourself on top, you have to punish the team who you're playing against. And again, you know, normal centre forward, you'd say it was a half chance, but I think when you've got somebody like Jamie Vardy on the end of that, it was just his first touch mark, wasn't it? Just got away from him a little bit, but he'll put that down as a huge opportunity.
He will indeed. 2-0 here. Richarlison with a calm finish on 10, and then an even calmer finish from Gylfi Sigurdsson, just his second Premier League goal of the season. It was like a training ground penalty. He just walked up and rolled it straight down the middle. Here's Chilwell on this near side, finds Barnes. Barnes goes down a bit of a blind alley, and he's out-muscled there. Coleman did really well, and they've got something to hang on to here, Everton. And both managers on the edge of their technical area looking on, and Carlo Ancelotti
Well, you can see Martinez scurrying across the goal because, I'll be honest, it's hit the post. It was a fabulous strike. But I was about to say early on, it was when they had the ball, he didn't take the shot on. They don't shoot enough.
Norwich have got it back again after Arsenal lost possession on the edge of their own penalty area, but they haven't made the most of it. But one or two defensive jitters here for the first time for Arsenal. McLean on the ball for Norwich, finds Buendia. Aaron's coming forward on the right hand side. He's just outside the Arsenal penalty area. Takes on Tierney. The ball is blocked. Comes back out though to Buendia. 10 metres outside the penalty area. Runs into traffic. Lacazette gets in the challenge, but he retains possession. Played back to Godfrey, whose head is still clearing from that thunderous 30-metre effort which struck the outside of Emi Martinez's post and shocked everybody here inside the Emirates, including, I suspect, Ben Godfrey, who's never scored a Premier League goal and whose eyes lit up there for a moment as his superbly struck shot appeared to be on target. Just clipped the outside of the post and bounced to safety from Arsenal's point of view. Easily the closest we've had to a goal so far. Arsenal 0, Norwich City 0. With TalkSport, with Now TV, Everton versus Leicester City is live right now with a Now TV Sky Sports Pass from £9.99. Search Now TV for details. Arsenal are back in possession with Lacazette, spinning away from Tribal inside the centre circle and making good progress before being halted by Godfrey, but Ceballos picks the ball up, back in towards Lacazette with a header, and it was a good chance. The header was straight at Krul, who had a routine save. It was an awkward one because it was angled in and really Lacazette had to create the pace on it, Alvin Martin.
Yeah, I still think he should do better though, Clive. It's a lovely ball by Ceballos. He just dinks it over the last defender, and you've got to read that, Lacazette. He knows that the defender's going to miss it, but find the corner. You know, I think it's straight at Krul, and when he sees that, he'll be disappointed.
He was about 8 metres out when he headed it, either side of Krul. It had enough power. It was a good contact with the forehead of Lacazette, but it was directed straight at the Norwich City goalkeeper. The game is opening up. Still 0-0, but Norwich City have hit a post, and now Lacazette has wasted a good chance for Arsenal. Krul clearing left-footed up to the half-line line towards Pukki, who's out-jumped by David Luiz. Luiz just eased under the ball by Cantwell, and a free kick has been given, and this will be the first water break of the match. Score is 0-0. Still to come this evening on TalkSport's Game Day, live commentary of West Ham United versus Chelsea on this station following this game. Live commentary of Sheffield Wednesday versus West Bromwich Albion can be heard on TalkSport 2 from 7:45. Tomorrow it's Hull City against Middlesbrough on TalkSport 2 at 5. We've got the League One playoff semi-finals on Friday on TalkSport 2. Then 6 more Premier League commentaries next weekend. Norwich playing the lunchtime game on Saturday against Brighton. Arsenal playing the tea time game on Saturday at Wolves. Both of those are live and exclusive to TalkSport. Latest scores in the Premier League this evening, all 6 o'clock kickoffs. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle United 1, Everton 2, Leicester City 0. Here at the Emirates, Arsenal 0, Norwich City 0. In the Championship, in a 5 o'clock kickoff, it's still Preston North End 0, Derby County 1. In a 6 o'clock kickoff, Birmingham City 0, Huddersfield Town 1, Nottingham Forest 0, Bristol City 0. The players gathered, receiving some information from the two managers, so I can tell you that not only is it 0-0, that the latest odds can be found on the Betfair Exchange, the official betting partner of TalkSport's Premier League coverage. You can back Arsenal to win at 1.44. You can back Norwich to win at 8.4, or you can back the draw at 5.3. The Betfair Exchange, more ways to bet, more ways to win. You must be 18 or over, and do pay a visit to begambleaware.org. Reflections on the opening 24 and a half minutes from Alvin Martin.
Well, I think both managers will be fairly pleased with the opening, especially Daniel Farke. I think, you know, to come here and be as solid as they are and rattle the post as well. These drinks are like times out, aren't they? Because you've got more control over what's gone right and what's gone wrong, and it gives them, like, you know, 2 or 3 minutes to maybe rectify and find solutions. But I think, you know, Norwich will be more than happy. They're still buoyant, aren't they? You can see there's an energy to their play, Clive. They're not a team that is sitting bottom in the Premier League and bereft of confidence.
It's designated as a 60-second break only, but it does seem to stray beyond that time limit, and the coaches do certainly get their grips in illegal huddles in order to have a chat with the players. And we have seen one or two Premier League games change direction or change emphasis after the timeouts which are brought in because we're playing Premier League football in July. But as I said at the start of the match, the weather conditions today are spring-like at best. I certainly can't see how a water break is a necessity in these conditions. One goal kick by Krul, headed on by McLean, and then Pukki tried to volley it forward. Rupp was upended by Xhaka, took the free kick quickly, and Pukki feeds Cantwell, who has a shot which is blocked by David Luiz. Cantwell struck his goal so well at the weekend in the Cup. There's a foul by McLean on Ceballos, which Aubameyang didn't like. McLean has now been shown a yellow card. The match referee, who I haven't mentioned tonight, is Peter Banks. That's his first statistic of the evening. I'm not sure that Lacazette didn't talk the referee into booking Kenny McLean there.
Certainly Ceballos has been the outstanding player in Arsenal in the first half. When he's got the ball, he's very inventive. He's always looking to play forward, and he wants the ball in the really tight areas, which I always respect.
Aubameyang has the ball, playing again from the left-hand side for Arsenal in a front three. Plays it back to Xhaka, who ventures over the halfway line, assesses his options, and then curls the ball out to Tierney on the left-hand touchline, midway inside the Norwich half of the field. Lacazette is on the ball again. Tierney once more, square to Xhaka, 15 metres outside the Norwich City penalty area. Finds Ceballos once more, offering himself a possession, looking up, trying to prompt and probe. Steps past a couple of challenges to the edge of the penalty area where Lewis makes a challenge, and Arsenal win a corner kick on the right-hand side. Good work again by Ceballos, Alvin.
Yeah, he's certainly inventive, and he wants the ball. He wants the ball, and you can tell that he's got the confidence of his his teammates. They give it to him, even when he's marked. They've got no problem giving him the ball because they feel he's good enough to retain it and hold on to it.
Scored the deciding goal in the FA Cup quarter-final at the weekend, and 2 days later we're reading reports that Arsenal will not exercise their right to make his loan deal from Real Madrid permanent. That is a report rather than an official statement, and that's the speculation. Ceballos himself takes the corner, tries to drive it towards Xhaka on the edge of the penalty area, headed away by Rupp. Tierney is the last man, but gathers the ball in well and finds Ceballos just outside the box, and now Nelson inside the box, forced wide. Ceballos with a hook cross, just a little bit too tall for Aubameyang, who did get his head to the ball but couldn't control the header. Buendia brings it away and gets it back from Rupp. In a crowd, midway inside his own half, Buendia's footwork is excellent. He has finally been penalised, because as he tried to play the ball back to Rupp, he caught Alexandre Lacazette and fouled him, and so Arsenal have a free kick very central, about 15-20 paces outside the penalty area. A free kick that Buendia is disputing. He had the ball, Alvin.
Yeah, it did look a little harsh. He tried to pull out of it, actually, right in front of the referee. He couldn't have been any closer to it in making a judgment.
The ball was just escaping him slightly, but as he stretched, he did definitely get a foot on the ball as Lacazette went to challenge him. And although his foot rather rolled on the ball and he then caught Lacazette, he did get a lot of the ball first. It is very central. With Luiz to strike it, it's an awkward one that bounces in front of Krul, but he didn't get a lot of action on the ball. He hit it with a side foot, David Luiz, a typical David Luiz free kick. But even though it was an awkward bounce for Krul, I don't think it moved a great deal, did it, Alvin?
No, you were right. He wanted to get it moving left to right, and that might have made it more uncomfortable for Krul. But it's certainly a situation where when you hit one like that, you can see why players do it. It's a long way out. You can't get it up and over the wall because it's too far out. But you can get the ball moving, and these balls do move a hell of a lot if you catch them right.
Nearly half an hour played at the Emirates. Arsenal 0, Norwich City 0. Norwich City have hit a post with a long-range shot from Ben Godfrey. Arsenal have had more of the game. Mustafi's coming forward, hooked away by Teti. Edge of his own penalty area, Buendia loses out to Tierney. Hooked in now with the left forward. Lacazette almost reached it. Teti heads clear. Brought down by Rupp, trying to run away from Ceballos, who does really well to win it back, and then Rupp in his attempts to regain possession, had a bit of a hack at Ceballos, and Arsenal have a free kick in a similar situation to the one that they had a moment ago, and Rupp is going to get a yellow card.
I can't see how we can have any complaints about that. Right in front of the referee, Peter Barnes, and Peter Banks, and you know, he's taking him out.
There has been a goal at the Vitality Stadium, which we will bring you up to date with in just a moment, tease you for a little while, because Arsenal do have a free kick in a promising situation here, maybe 35 metres outside the penalty area and right of centre this time. I think it's a crossing position rather than a shooting position. Hector Bellerin is the man standing over the ball. Ceballos has just walked away as if he looks disinterested to his right, but may figure in the free kick. But no, Bellerin plays it high into the box, where Aubameyang is waiting and Teti heads behind, and Arsenal now have a corner kick on the left-hand side, so still action around the penalty area. I'll put you out of your misery and tell you that Newcastle United have gone 2 up now at Bournemouth, and we'll get details in just a moment. But firstly, Arsenal have right foot. David Luiz is forward, but it's worked short on the far side with Reece Nelson, who plays it in low, and Lacazette with the shot, which he rather scuffed wide, and we can now get the details of that second goal from Alex Crook in Bournemouth.
Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 2. The move started with a mesmerising, bamboozling run down the left-hand side from Alan Saint-Maximin. The defending from Bournemouth was negligent once again. He got to the byline, cut the cross back, and there was Sean Longstaff to rifle in his first goal since Boxing Day into the roof of the net. But I tell you what, Clive, you wouldn't know Bournemouth are fighting for their lives. There's been no fight, no desire, and on this evidence, no chance of staying up. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 2.
Still Everton 2, Leicester. Aubameyang has been gifted a goal, and Arsenal do take the lead. Tim Krul trying to dribble the ball out on the edge of his 6-yard box, lost possession of the ball to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. 50 up for him, 50 Premier League goals in double quick time. Only 5 men have reached the half century in fewer Premier League games. 50 in 77. And Alvin Martin, never an easier one.
No, that's right. You've got to give Aubameyang a lot of credit here for chasing this down. He's made 10 yards up to put Krul under pressure. But if there's ever an opportunity to clear a ball, he had it there. It's on his left foot. All he's got to do is clear it down the line. You haven't got to pick any of your teammates up. Just get it to safety. Tries to be clever. It's left-hand side. He's trying to pull it back across Aubameyang. And it's not an easy finish because he's at quite an angle. But once he was there one-on-one, that man is going to score.
It is his first Premier League goal since February, 18 weeks. But 50 Premier League goals, even quicker than Thierry Henry. You cannot argue with the numbers of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Well, we've been lavishing praise on Tim Krul since the kickoff, and that is his worst moment of the season, surely so far. He tried a little pull back to evade Aubameyang as he put him under some pressure, and Aubameyang dispossessed him. And even though it was a tight angle, he was able just to side foot the ball into an empty net. So we have goals now in all 3 of the Premier League matches in action. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 2, Arsenal 1, Norwich City 0 here, Everton 2, Leicester City 0 at Goodison Park. West Ham United versus Chelsea, live and exclusive on TalkSport, still to come with an 8:15 kickoff. In the Championship, it's still Preston North End 0, Derby County 1 in the 5 o'clock game. In the 6 o'clock games, Birmingham City 0, Huddersfield Town 1, Nottingham Forest 0, Bristol City 0.
I'll tell you what, Clive, Aubameyang, he's been a massive hit, hasn't he, at this club? You know, you can talk about some of the players that they've bought in recent times, not really getting value for them. Well, this man certainly produced. He's in a pretty strong position, isn't he? Was he in the last year of his contract?
He turned 31 last month, but as you say, he is now entering the final year of his contract. He is the captain here at the moment. They've had a few. Norwich on the attack. Cantwell back to Teddy. That's 21 goals in total. He scored 2 against Norwich City at Carrow Road in December, and he scored another against them here, gifted to him by Tim Krul. And it's so frustrating for Daniel Farke, whose team were very much in this game through the first half hour. They're not out of it now, but they are now chasing the game, a goal down. Lewis coming forward, midway inside the Arsenal half on the left-hand side. Teti to McLean, just inside the centre circle, steps away from Lacazette. Played back to inside the Norwich City half of the field as Teti squeezes it forward towards Buendia, who can't control it, and Ceballos is striding forward again, finding Nelson just outside the Norwich City penalty area, spins and turns and feeds it to Tierney, who's supporting now on the edge of the box, crossed in towards Lacazette. It was Kane for Ceballos as it broke off Lewis. Cantwell is able to steer the ball out of harm's way, and Norwich City have a throw-in midway inside their own half, and Dani Ceballos continues to take the eye.
Very important now after conceding a goal, certainly in the fashion they did, that they settle down, they don't give another one away, get into half-time, regroup, because Arsenal will give you a chance. It's an Arsenal side that have still got their own problems defensively.
Ceballos is a young player, he's 24 next month. He has been prominent in mid-February, really, after some injury problems in the first half of the season. Is he going to get back in the Real Madrid team? I don't think so. Fede Valverde, who's not a dissimilar kind of player, is really emerging now at the Bernabeu, and you can imagine that Real Madrid will spend again in the summer. So, not a permanent move to Arsenal, where for Dani Ceballos. He seems to have the physique to be able to handle the English game, Alvin.
Well, he's a neat footballer. What I like about him, Clive, as well, is he doesn't want to just keep the ball for the sake of keeping possession. When the ball's on to play, if it's a risky ball, he'll play it, and they need that, Arsenal.
Arsenal coming forward with Xhaka making it 2-0. Lovely combination. David Luiz swept a fabulous ball out to the left-hand side to Kieran Tierney. Aubameyang supported and played it back into the penalty area. And there was Granit Xhaka with a first-time strike, low and true, past Tim Krul. Xhaka's first goal since March of last year, and Arsenal lead by 2-0.
Well, it was excellent football. They all knew instinctively where everyone was, and the pullback, I think, was instinct. And once he gets it onto his right foot, his left foot, he's got an angle against him here, Xhaka, but he makes a really good job of it. Because he's got a very small back leg. I've gone through him again on this occasion, but certainly the one-touch play that Arsenal had there was exceptionally high.
Yeah, the swift movement of the ball, rather unhinged. Norwich City started with a high looping, arcing diagonal ball from David Luiz to find Tierney on the touchline. Aubameyang only had one touch when Tierney fed him calmly inside, and Xhaka ran onto it and struck it confidently. There's never a man who lacks confidence, Granit Xhaka, even though his goal-scoring record isn't the best, and he's in possession again on the edge of the Norwich penalty area, but he's stopped this time by Tribal. Aarons brings it forward for Norwich City. Norwich City, the Premier League's lowest goal scorers, have lost all 18 Premier League games in which they have conceded first this season, and they'd no sooner conceded once here, but within 5 minutes Arsenal had added a second. Brighton did come from behind to beat Arsenal 11 days ago, but Norwich have got a long way to go to get back into this game. Tierney coming forward again for Arsenal. Xhaka tries to cross, it's going to go out for a corner kick to Arsenal on the left-hand side, and they now have true breathing space in this game.
Yeah, Norwich looked particularly vulnerable down their right-hand side, Arsenal's left, and it's Tierney really who's getting acres and acres of space. I think it's because Aubameyang is setting up on that side, and he's making really good runs through the heart defence, and he's pulling people away, and it's allowing Tierney to get onto the ball more regularly than Bellerin on this right-hand side.
Just to emphasise, this is the third game running that Arsenal have played with a back three, and it seems to benefit their full-back stroke wing-backs in particular. They have this corner now on the left-hand side, which Nelson guys back and struck by Xhaka again, and it needed the outstretched foot of Godfrey to stop it going goalwards. Headed away by Aarons at the expense of a throw-in by the corner flag this time.
Different play now, Xhaka, isn't he? He made a good job of that really hard one. He hit it bounced on the half volley on the edge of the box, and he got really good contact on it. But he's a player now that looks like he's enjoying his football again. He's won the fans over. not in the stadium obviously, but I'm sure the Arsenal fans in general now are thinking a lot more highly of him than they did when he had that fallout.
He was an outcast in November. The word was that he'd actually agreed to move to Hertha Berlin in January, but very much a part of Mikel Arteta's plans. And on the score sheet for the first time this season, Aubameyang and Xhaka have scored the goals, which make it Arsenal 2, Norwich City 0. Still got live commentary of West Ham United versus Chelsea to come on TalkSport this evening. That's an 8:15 kickoff. We started at 6 o'clock here, so we're nearing half-time in the last 5 minutes, and Arsenal are now well on top. Kolasinac out to Tierney again on the left-hand side. It's a longer cross this time, probably over here, not quite what he had in mind. And the scampering Bellerin can't keep it in, and it goes out for a Norwich City throw-in down by the corner flag on the left-hand side.
It's not the stuffing out in the second goal, Norwich, and I said they look pretty buoyant, but they look deflated at the moment going into half-time.
Throw-in which Lewis will take down the left-hand touchline, one in the air by Ceballos, but only at the expense of another Norwich City throw-in, which Lewis will once more take 20 metres from the corner flag now on the left-hand side. Rupp showing himself for the ball, but rather hesitantly, and it's run back by Nelson, who exchanges passes with Xhaka, and now Bellerin, 10 metres outside the penalty area, sweeps a square pass just behind Tierney, and he has to check to gather it. Finds Aubameyang, gets it back from Kolasinac. This time Aubameyang can turn midway inside the Norwich half before being forced back to Ceballos. But again, he's the one with the creativity, again stepping through the challenges before feeding Aubameyang, who can't quite control it, and Norwich City are able to bring the ball away before Buendia goes back to Godfrey and all the way back to Krul on his unfavoured right foot with a rather anxious clearance, but he does link with Buendia. But then McLean's first touch is a little heavy, and he only just manages to keep possession. Tetty to Lewis, now motoring forward with a bit more confidence into Arsenal territory. A little flick from Cantwell. Buendia trying to play it back to Lewis, but Norwich have won it back, and Cantwell inside the penalty area exchanges passes with Rupp after a mistake by Mustafi, but it's only a Norwich City throw-in. 10 metres from the corner flag on the left-hand side. Rupp again, losing possession this time to Nelson. Lacazette is back near the edge of his own penalty area trying to help out, and instead gives the ball to Cantwell, who crosses early. Xhaka's header's a little bold, and it might just come to the edge of the penalty and tribal. Buendia takes over, turns, curling shot, blocked by an Arsenal head, out to the right-hand side. Aaron's in towards Pukki, and it's cleared eventually by Kolasinac, but some rather perilous defending in the midst of all that from Arsenal.
Yeah, Mustafi, as you said there, trying to, take the ball out of defence, got it nicked off him, and he was fortunate that it didn't break more kindly for Norwich in that situation.
2 minutes of the first half remaining at the Emirates. Arsenal 0, Norwich City 0. Elsewhere in the Premier League it remains Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 2, Everton 2, Leicester 0. Throw into Arsenal 20 metres from the corner flag on the left-hand side, which Kolasinac takes, but Aubameyang has lost possession inside his own penalty area. One back by Kolasinac. Now square to Bellerin, who can surge forward. His quick feet, and now out to Nelson, who's attacking the edge of the Norwich penalty area, trying to get past Lewis, who did well enough to hold him up, get a foot on the ball, hook it against Nelson, and it has actually gone out for a goal kick.
Excellent defending by Lewis, that really was, because he's really sharp, Nelson, on this right-hand side for Arsenal, and he was one-on-one in the penalty area with lots of space to work with, and it's a very uncomfortable position for a full-back to be in, and he dealt with it really well there, Lewis.
Which of the young Norwich City players, if they are relegated, Aarons, Godfrey, Lewis, Cantwell, would you think would attract the most interest from other Premier League clubs?
I like Lewis because he's somebody that wants to get forward, but he knows his priority is defending. I think Aaron's on the other side is more about going forward, less about defending. Cantwell has got potential to be a number 10. The sort of player that Maddison is for was at Norwich, wasn't he? But is at Leicester. He's that sort of player, maybe potentially, but he needs to get more end product into his game, Clive. It's not just about looking pretty, is it? The stats have got to be good. You've got to be, assisting people. You've got to be scoring. I think a player like him should be looking at scoring 8-9 goals minimum from that position every season.
He has got 7 this season, Todd Cantwell, and he scored goals against the bigger teams. Side-footed effort against Arsenal in December. He scored against Liverpool and Manchester City and Leicester and Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur too. 2 added minutes here. Arsenal leading by 2-0. McLean to Buendia in the centre of the Arsenal half of the field. Forward to McLean again, who's eased off the ball, but at formation settled down, but it's brand new for Norwich City, and they've started this second half as if their ears are ringing for one or two less than complimentary German words during the break. On the halfway line, it's Godfrey. Steps forward and finds Rupp, but miscontrolled by Aarons on the touchline, gives the ball back to Arsenal. I've seen quite a bit of Norwich City this season, Alvin. I've never seen it, but
they've got to get the ball into
Norwich City
and try out muscle.
And they've started this second
because they're playing the way they were. Wasn't ever going to get them back in, and I think he was angry. It looks like he's rattled a few cages in there, upset a few people, and he's got a reaction from his players, which is what his job is.
Arsenal scored twice in 4 first half minutes through Aubameyang and Xhaka, and lead by 2-0, but Norwich have started the second half as more initiative. Hernandez is on the ball now, wearing bright red boots, plays it back to Teti on the halfway line. McLean, who's the holding midfield player now, is taking over. So it's a back three of Godfrey, Teti and Lewis. Then McLean and Rock sitting as central midfield players. On the left is Hernandez, on the right is Aarons, and Campbell's playing in quite an advanced role, right up behind the two half-time substitutes, Idar and Dermich. It's sort of a 3-4-1-2 now for Norwich City. Arsenal, who've been operating with a back three for the third consecutive game, have a throw-in 20 metres inside their own half on the right-hand side, which their right wing-back, Hector Bellerin, will take. Their back three is now holding Louise and Kolasinac, with Bellerin and Tierney, the wing-backs, Xhaka and Ceballos at the heart of midfield. Idar's won another free kick here for Norwich, and then a front three of Nelson, Lacazette and Aubameyang. Free kick is in a good position.
Sorry, Clive, I think it would make it interesting if Norwich were able to get a goal. Just what effect would it have on Arsenal?
It's about 20 metres outside the penalty area, left to centre. Kenny McLean, who did test the keeper with a fine free kick in the first half, is going to take it, but he's, I think, going to float this one in towards the heads. Teti is forward from the back. It's clipped further towards Godfrey, clipped a little bit too far by Kenny McLean. It was a waste in truth, and Arsenal get a very cheap goal kick.
I think, to be fair as well, I think that the line that they held there, Arsenal, was perfect. It was high, making it incredibly difficult for McLean to deliver into the area that he wanted to.
Elsewhere in the Premier League, still Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 2, Everton 2, Leicester City 0. That game is live on TalkSport 2 at this moment. Everton 2, Leicester City 0. Arsenal are claiming for a bit of holding and a free kick, and the free kick's actually gone the other way. But Bournemouth started the evening 6 points ahead of Norwich, who've been rock bottom since Boxing Day. They're 6 points adrift of Villa, Bournemouth and West Ham, who feature in our second commentary game on TalkSport at home to Chelsea in the 8:15 kickoff, which is coming your way on this station as soon as we finished at the Emirates. So interesting night at the foot of the Premier League, interesting night at the top of the Championship, where Derby County have already won and moved up to within a point of the playoff zone at the expense of one of the teams who were above them in the table at the start of play, Preston North End. Wayne Rooney's free kick has won that game. Elsewhere, still Birmingham City 0, Huddersfield 1, Nottingham Forest 0, Bristol City 0. We do have live commentary on TalkSport 2 later of West Bromwich Albion's game at Hillsborough against Sheffield Wednesday. Plenty of action for you again on another game day evening here on TalkSport. A game that's going well for Arsenal at the moment. Arsenal 2, Norwich City 0 on TalkSport with Nissan commercial vehicles built to deliver. Arsenal have a throw-in 15 metres inside their own half on the left-hand side, which Sead Kolasinac will take. Just looking for movement ahead of him. He's actually edging up the touchline. If it goes much further, he'll be down by the corner flag, but he throws it eventually, headed down by Godfrey. Another throw-in, which Kolasinac will take after a word with the fourth official who was just pointing out the fact that he saw him sneaking forward. Darren England, you can't fool referees. Kolasinac takes the throw in this time from the halfway line. Lacazette tries to turn, loses out to Rupp. Cantwell forward. On now to Idar again, just outside the penalty area. Hernandez arriving in support of him. Turns in onto his right foot and strikes the ball very powerfully, always rising high over Martinez's crossbar, but far more intent from Norwich City.
Well, Idar's certainly having an impact on the game up to now, isn't he? If you get the ball up to him, it sticks, and he's big, he's strong, he's a real physical centre forward, an old-fashioned centre forward in some degrees, but his touch and his awareness seems to be up there as well. I'm surprised, really, when you look at his impact and the way he's looked and the way he shook Arsenal up here at the start of the second half, that we haven't seen more of him.
Well, he has now appeared as a substitute in the last 6 games either side of the break. We have got another goal at Goodison Park, Everton versus Leicester City. Let's hear from Mark Wilson.
Madison offloads the ball here to Tielemans, puts a cross in looking for Vardy. Ball will break here, big chance, and he's cannoned in the back of the net, and Leicester have got a goal back. It's Iheanacho who's bundled it in. It may well have come off a defender, but he's the one running away to celebrate.
Everton 2, Leicester City 1 now at Goodison Park, and that game is live on TalkSport 2. But if Leicester City are beaten, Chelsea will have an opportunity to go above them into third place in the table later this evening when they take on West Ham United. Norwich City coming forward, still 2 down here, and he has to go all the way back to Tim Krul. It was Krul who was caught out by Aubameyang for the first Arsenal goal, and a rather cheap goal which set Norwich City back. We have had another goal now in the Championship. It's the match between Birmingham City and Huddersfield Town. Let's hear from Jeff Peters.
Yeah, it's Birmingham 0, Huddersfield 2. Fraser Campbell has just stabbed home. Ball came in from the left-hand side, his 3rd league goal of the season. They've also missed a penalty in this second half. Camp with the save, keeping out Grant, who put Huddersfield in front in the first half. It's Birmingham 0, Huddersfield 2.
2-0 to Arsenal here at the Emirates. Norwich City coming forward again, and that man Idar's on the ball on the edge of their penalty area. Back to goal, has to go back to Godfrey. Swept out to the left-hand side, and Hernandez. Chance for him now to run at Bellerin. Beats himself initially, stood on the ball, but he's managed to retain possession. He's got support from Lewis out there. Instead rolls it infield to Cantwell. Now Lewis just outside the penalty area, but the flag's up on the near side. And a bit of a loss of concentration there by Jamal Lewis, and a free kick to Arsenal on the edge of their own penalty area.
At the very start of this second half, they just got the ball up long, didn't they, into Idar and worked off him, and then they've gone back into playing little short passes, intricate passes now, Norwich, and you know, I do suggest that maybe they should just go more direct, get it up to him and let people play off him, and if he's not going to win it, he's certainly stopped the defenders at Arsenal. They're getting good headers away, so you know, the ball's going to be bouncing in the vicinity that he wants, but they certainly look more effective in the first 5 minutes by playing that way.
Lacazette for Arsenal, played back to Ceballos, has probably been the right hand side. Where Bellerin assesses the possibilities, looks at the option to cross, but instead comes back to Holding, and now to David Luiz. Square to Kolasinac, striding into the Norwich City half of the field. There's an extra tempo about the match, and Norwich City seem to have found a second win. Xhaka on now to Ceballos, just inside the Norwich half. A lovely ball lofted into the path of Bellerin. He's inside the Norwich City penalty area, sliding challenge by Hernandez. Still Bellerin, charged down eventually by Hernandez, and Norwich City are able to clear their line. There's been another goal at Bournemouth. Alex Crook.
Well, if it wasn't game over already, it certainly is now. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 3. Miguel Almiron, Newcastle's top scorer this season, has just scored his 7th of the campaign. The ball was rolled into Almiron 5 or 6 yards outside the penalty area. The Bournemouth players kept backing off. In the end, he found himself with time and space inside the box just to lift the ball right-footed over Aaron Ramsdale into the top corner. It's another terrible goal for Bournemouth to concede. Newcastle won't care. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 3.
About the only good news of the evening so far for Norwich City, who still trail by 2-0 here at the Emirates against Arsenal, who are about to make their second change of the evening. It's going to be an appearance for Joe Willock, who has figured in all 4 of the matches since the restart, and he's going to take the place of Reece Nelson in the Arsenal side. Still to come on Talk Sport this evening, mouth-watering match between West Ham United and Chelsea, live commentary from 8:15. Let's get the team news from Sam Matterface.
West Ham waiting nervously for the result at Bournemouth. Well, not as the result comes in 3-0 in the last few minutes. They alter 2 from their defeat at Tottenham 8 summer evenings ago. Noble must have picked up an injury because he's not involved in the squad at all. Ogbonna and Lanzini both return. Frank Lampard is not afraid of changes, and after reading the riot act to some Chelsea youngsters on Sunday, he brings in 6 new faces, but Tammy Abraham keeps his place up front. Mount drops to the bench, so does Billy Gilmore. Arida Balaga is back in goal.
Arsenal 2, Norwich City 0. Talk Sport with Now TV. Later this evening, that West Ham Chelsea game can be seen live with a Now TV Sky Sports pass from $9.99. Search Now TV for more on that. There's 2 first-half goals from Aubameyang and Xhaka, still separating the 2 sides here. But Norwich City play with more belief and a little bit more conviction since the break. 3 changes made by Daniel Farke, a change of formation too. And the players that he's given an opportunity to have just lifted the side's performance level a little and have put Arsenal under a little bit of pressure. Mistake by Tierney gives a throw in to Norwich, which Idar takes quickly, and Cantwell is inside the box and goes down. Caught by Kolasinac, penalty, no, goal kick. Referee pointed generally towards the edge of the 6-yard box stroke penalty spot. He is now receiving some advice from his VAR, who is none other than Mike Dean this evening. Norwich are absolutely convinced that there was a foul there by Kolasinac, so as that check goes on, they remain hopeful. What was your instinct there, Arvin?
I think there was a case to be answered there. He went down very easy, Cantwell, but he was the wrong side. Certainly Kolasinac, he did touch him. So it's all down to the interpretation here, Clive, but there's certainly a case to answer.
It is right on the edge of the penalty area. The check has been completed. It is no penalty. I don't think Todd Cantwell helped his case by the way that he went down, because Kolasinac was, as you say, on the wrong side, nudged him in the back. Kolasinac went down as if he'd been tripped rather than nudged. His feet came off the ground, and the on-field referee's call, the umpire's call of Peter Banks, was backed up by Mike Dean, who was midway through a shave and was interrupted, but he went with the on-field referee, and it remains 2-0 to Arsenal. Godfrey's on the ball for Norwich City to Rupp, just outside the Norwich City penalty area. Godfrey now stepping back inside to feed the left foot of Tim Krul to clear first time down the field towards Dermich. He managed to get a flick on. Idar trying to help it on towards Hernandez on the left-hand side, tangling with Bellerin. Bounces off the Frenchman, wins a free kick midway inside the Arsenal half of the field. Taken quickly to on Hernandez, who can't get enough of the ball. This time he's fouled by Aubameyang. And another free kick to Norwich City. Cantwell's offering himself short. Instead, it's Rupp who steps forward, turned away in no-nonsense fashion by Holding. Arsenal not taking any chances with their clearances. They feeling the Norwich heat a little bit at the moment. Just a suggestion as Dermich clips it forward that they can get back into this game. Aarons has found a way into the Arsenal penalty area. Twists and turns, looking for a cross. Left-hand side of the penalty area. Well defended by Tierney. Crossing instead by Lewis, flicked away by Holding. One for Aubameyang to chase out towards the near touchline. He can't quite keep it in, and Norwich City can keep the pressure on with the throw-in. Taken by Aarons. It's Godfrey. Back to McLean. McLean to Cantwell. Gets it back from Rupp. Cantwell edge of the penalty area. Now Aarons trying to get inside the box, but again, good defending by Tierney, who got his body between the ball and Max Aarons and just shepherded it out of play for a goal kick. But Arsenal are back in the game here.
Well, they've regrouped at half-time. They've obviously had the manager readjusting things, making his substitutions, and he's had a very positive effect. the long and short of it is, though, they're 2-0 down and they desperately need a goal, Clive. Where's that goal going to come from? Either's come on and he's shook things up, and they're certainly asking a lot more questions of Arsenal. But when it gets around the final third, you still have that question: have they got the quality to stick that in the back of the net? Because without that, it's all just approach play and potential.
Daniel Farke did try something different against Everton in the last Premier League game. No Pukki, no Cantwell, no Buendia. He ended up bringing on all three as substitutes. He doesn't look like a man to mess with, but there's only so many points you can make when your team are so short of points, and he is short of options. He's gone to his bench here early this evening, 3 changes at half-time, and Idar and Hernandez have been prominent since coming on.
I think if he's going to do anything, I think he needs to take more chances and pressure further up the pitch, because I think the Holding and Luiz and Kolasinac, they if you pressure them, I think that they will start to give you the ball, but you've got to be brave to do that.
I was thinking on the way here, Arsenal looked a little bit vulnerable to the crossball, and particularly to the long throws of Sheffield United at the weekend. Would Norwich City try to exploit that? They just don't really have the ammunition. They don't have the system which can change to go to a more direct style of football. It's just not Daniel Farke's way. He has changed the system here, but maybe not too much in terms of the technical approach that Norwich City have to games. And all credit to him. That's the method that he deployed in order to get Norwich City into the Premier League last season. Maybe if he'd had a little bit more fortune without the injuries that he suffered, particularly in the centre of the defence, even the injury to the toe of Timo Pukki, which seems to have slowed him down since the opening couple of months, maybe it would have been a different story. But as things stand, they are 6 points adrift at the bottom of the table, and they maybe need to think about a plan B.
I do feel for Pukki a little bit, Clive, because he's the one that was isolated up front on his own. He's played as a one most of the season, hasn't he? And I think you think sometimes maybe a little bit of help playing somebody up there alongside him, taking a little bit of the burden off him.
On the ball for Arsenal, it's Willock trying to play it square to Xhaka, who did well to retain possession under some pressure. Holding won a tackle, but Norwich are coming forward, and Idar again onto Dermich, and now Hernandez joining in on the left-hand side, and another spirited breakaway from Norwich City, and Dermich is there again, edge of the penalty area. His shot is charged down by Xhaka, comes out as far as Cantwell. He's trying to spin into some space, has to go back to Godfrey though. Square again to McLean, studded ball forward for Dermich, out to the left-hand side. Lewis checks and comes back to Tetty just inside the Arsenal half of the field, and now Jamal Lewis accelerates and moves forward with some purpose before running into Bellerin with a well-timed challenge. He plays it back to the edge of the penalty area, and Xhaka up towards Aubameyang, but his pass doesn't connect. Maybe Tierney's head forward will connect, and Aubameyang now has got a racing start on Godfrey up to the edge of the Norwich City penalty area, coaxed in towards Lacazette. It was an awkward ball to take, try to volley it back across the face of goal. Willock has a chance, and with his left foot lofts it high over Krul's crossbar and away for a goal kick. It's Arsenal 2, Norwich City 0. The latest odds are available on the Betfair Exchange, the official betting partner of TalkSport's Premier League coverage. You can back Arsenal to win at 1.02. You can back Norwich to win at 240, or back the draw at 40. Betfair Exchange, more ways to bet, more ways to win. You do have to be 18 or over, and do pay a visit to begambleaware.org.
Just seen Aubameyang then receive a ball that was played over the top, and he was in a foot race with Godfrey. He's got some pace, Aubameyang, it really is. And then he checks the ball back onto his right foot and plays an inch perfect ball to the far post for Lacazette. He really does have so much.
Here is Aubameyang with another opportunity for Arsenal, which he takes so coolly, and Arsenal lead by 3-0. A somersault celebration from Aubameyang. A beaming smile breaks out across his face. He knows a third Arsenal goal will see off any idea tonight. He's taken guard and started on another 50. 2 for Aubameyang, 3 for Arsenal. They lead by 3-0.
That's a walk in the park for Aubameyang, and he's gifted another one. How on earth you you gift a man with that sort of ability, possession on the edge of your own penalty area, well, you get what you deserve, and that's a goal, an easy goal by his standards. He just strokes it in nonchalantly. He's one hell of a player, and Arsenal are in desperate talks to try and make sure that he extends his stay, and you can see why.
Joseph Dermich was guilty of a square pass which found its way to Aubameyang inside the penalty area, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. He slotted calmly for his 22nd goal of the season. We have a drinks break here with Arsenal leading by 3-0. Still to come on TalkSport this evening, live commentary of West Ham United versus Chelsea at 8:15. Andy and Jason will be manning the sports bar tonight at 10:15 when the live football is over. If you're up early tomorrow, it's Brazil and McCoy's making sports breakfast from 6 with Jamie O'Hara. Glenn Johnson joins White and Sawyer at 11, and then H&J at 1. And the new TalkSport daily podcast, including reaction from this evening's games, will be available to download from 4 a.m. tomorrow. Get the app, listen to the TalkSport Daily on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Acast. The TalkSport Daily, the daily TalkSport podcast, available from the early hours of tomorrow morning. Arsenal 3, Norwich City 0. Elsewhere in the Premier League this evening, it's Bournemouth 0, Newcastle United 3, Everton 2, Leicester City 1. In the Championship, an earlier kick-off and a final score of Preston North End 0, Derby County 1. In the evening's other Championship games, Huddersfield Town remain 2 goals up at St Andrews against Birmingham, Nottingham Forest 0, Bristol City 0. As neutrals, and Alvin Martin and I, of course, are neutrals, that was a bit of a shame because Norwich City were threatening to get back into the match.
I think, again, we go back to the season, and when you analyse it, it's happened so often, isn't it? It's, team-wise, I think that they set themselves up nice. There's a collective unity about them, but individually, they're all susceptible to errors, and 2 of the goals have been errors tonight, and you can't gift goals in the Premier League. Right? There's only one thing that happens, and that's you lose games and you don't stay long.
Facing relegation from the Premier League for the 5th time since the inception of the league, and no club has been relegated more than 4 times. They have won 4 promotions to the Premier League, it has to be said. They're coming forward again here with Cantwell, 15 metres outside the penalty area, square to Godfrey, has already struck one very good shot against the post. The time a rather tame, low effort is easily gathered by Martinez. We have had a first goal of the evening in the match between Nottingham Forest and Bristol City at the City Ground. Let's hear about that.
It's Nottingham Forest 1, Bristol City 0. It's rather against the run of play, but a stunning free kick from Thiago Silva putting the playoff chasing side in front. Vyman was clumsy on Yates on the edge of the area, just an edge of the D in fact, and Silva stepped up, right-footed curler into the corner beyond Daniel Bentley. Forest 1, Bristol City 0.
Nottingham Forest 1, Bristol City 0. Thanks to Dave Rowe for that report. Goals in all of the evening's games now. Nottingham Forest will be more aware than anybody of the rise of Derby County up the Championship table, now sitting in 7th place, just a point behind Cardiff. But if Forest can win that game, they would stretch their lead over Wayne Rooney's Derby to 7 points and would themselves move up into 4th place in the table this evening with a victory. Already possibility of Huddersfield Town moving out of the bottom 3 if they can retain their lead at Birmingham. Movement at either end of both the Premier League and the Championship this evening. You're hearing it live on TalkSport. Our first commentary game here on TalkSport is Arsenal 3, Norwich City 0. On the ball is Granit Xhaka, halfway line, fed forward to Lacazette. Out to Bellerin on the right-hand side, trying to run loose, which he can't do. Krul clears his lines, high down the field towards Dermich. He played a rather blind pass from wide out, which he probably thought was harmless enough, but it was wayward and it bounced through, a little unfortunately from his point of view, straight to Aubameyang, who really has been given 2 presents this evening and has taken both of them very capably indeed. Either side of a first goal of the season for Granit Xhaka, which means that Arsenal lead Norwich City by 3-0, and they're coming forward again. Ceballos with a little back heel to Xhaka. Square now to Kolasinac. Up towards the halfway line. Fed inside to Xhaka. Back to Kolasinac again, but Arsenal can keep the ball and take their time. David Luiz feeds Kolasinac again, checks and comes inside, just inside his own half. Ceballos, those strides forward, plays a nice ball with the outside of his right foot, guided into the path of Willock and out to the right-hand side and Bellerin. Willock again, midway inside the Norwich half, not a very cultured Arsenal move. Exchanging passes freely and accurately. Kolasinac now in the heart of the Norwich City half. Square to Ceballos, always seems to be a red shirt available. Tierney wide on the left-hand side, feeds it into the penalty area, and Willock can't quite connect with Lacazette, and it's turned away by Dermich, but only as far as Kolasinac. And here's Xhaka now, 20 metres outside the box, on by Aubameyang, away by Teti, but again only as far as an Arsenal player in the shape of Holding. This is Xhaka midway inside the Norwich half. Norwich preparing to make another couple of changes as Arsenal keep possession and come all the way back to David Luiz inside his own half. Forward by Kolasinac. Ceballos always looking to go forward, always looking to try to prompt and create something. One or two of his teammates just happier just to ferry the ball around the field and let it do the work. Holding is coming forward now into the Norwich half. Long striding Rob Holding right up to the edge of the Norwich City penalty area on the right-hand side, trying to move the ball inside and step away from a challenge, which he can't do until he's on the ball for Norwich City. Out to the right-hand side, and Max Aarons just inside his own half of the field. Stands on the ball, plays it square to Rupp. Square again to McLean, edge of the centre circle. Out to the left-hand side, and now Lewis venturing forward. He checks on the ball 10 metres inside the Arsenal half. Goes back to Teti. Square again to Godfrey. Forward to Cantwell. Little bit of the zest has gone out of Norwich, but a good exchange there between Idar and Cantwell towards the edge of the penalty area, where Kolasinac intercepts, and Arsenal can come forward again with Willock. There has been a further goal now in the match between Birmingham City and Huddersfield Town. Let's hear about that from Jeff Peters.
Should be all over now. Birmingham 0, Huddersfield 3. Deep ball to the far post, knocked back across into the middle, and Elias Kajunga, a couple of yards out, was able to head it into the empty net. It's Birmingham 0, Huddersfield 3.
We're going to see double substitutions on both sides. On for Norwich City, number 8, Mario Vrancic, who has figured as a substitute in the first two games back, and we're going to see the first since the restart of Marco Stiepermann, who did test positive for COVID-19 last month. Even though he didn't have any actual symptoms, he had to isolate for a few days. He's back in training now for the last couple of weeks, and he will take the place of Todd Cantwell. So the tall German Marco Stiepermann is coming on. Arsenal changes. We'll see Eddie Nketiah, and a debut for Arsenal for Cedric Soares, the Portuguese international, who arrived on loan initially from Southampton in January with injuries. He's had a facial injury of late, but the deal was made permanent last month, and he is going to come on now for an Arsenal debut. Just waiting to see which players are coming off. Alexandre Lacazette is going to make way for Eddie Nketiah, and then it will be Hector Bellerin, who's been playing as a right wing back, who will give way to Cedric Soares. And Bellerin may have read the remarks that his manager made about Cedric being technically the best right back in the final third of the field, so we'll see about that. He's not exactly rushing off. Whatever happened to those regulations where players could leave the field on the far side if it was closer to do so? Cedric was coming on for Bellerin, and there has been another goal at Bournemouth. Let's hear from Alex Crook.
Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 4. What started as a pivotal night for the Cherries in their hopes of staying in the Premier League is turning into an utterly humiliating and embarrassing one. It's a first Premier League goal for Valentino Lazaro off the bench for Newcastle. John Joe Shelby picked up the ball on the halfway line, was allowed the freedom in the Bournemouth half of the field to make his way towards the penalty area, rolled it forward for Lazaro, left-footed, of the Bournemouth net. Still 12 minutes to go in this one. Could be 5 or 6 by the end of the night. Bournemouth 0, Newcastle 4.
Still, Arsenal 3, Norwich City 0 here. And nobody at the bottom end of the table seems to be making very much progress. There's a little incident here where they're coming together between Max Aarons and Danny Ceballos, has gone down holding his face. I have to say, it didn't appear to be any major contact. Just a loose swinging arm. I mean, the elbow may just have caught Ceballos, but it was accidental.
Absolutely. He did make a bit of a meal of it, didn't he? I don't like to see players doing that, because you ultimately feel that they're trying to make more of it than what there really is. But it was a frailing arm, really. It wasn't an elbow.
He's absolutely fine now, Ceballos. Arsenal have a free kick just inside Norwich territory, which David Luiz will take. He was a doubt for tonight's game, and he did have a moment about 15 minutes ago where he went down almost as if he was taking a knee again, Luiz, and waited for some treatment. But in the end, when it was offered from the Arsenal medical team, he shook his head and said he was happy to continue. Interesting to see whether he's available again at the weekend. You can hear Norwich and Arsenal in action again on Saturday here exclusively live on TalkSport. Norwich City playing the lunchtime game on Saturday against Brighton. Arsenal playing the tea time game on Saturday at Wolves, both live and exclusive to TalkSport. Arsenal lead by 3-0. Coming forward on the right hand side is Cedric. It was a foul though, and a free kick to Norwich City. Vrancic, the man, goes down, caught by Xhaka. But the third goal of the evening, the second of Aubameyang's evening, really has taken all of the jeopardy out of this game. Arsenal now have a clear lead, are on course for their 4th consecutive Premier League home. European hopes are still very slim hopes, it has to be said. They're going to have to carry on winning, but I mean, the good news for them, if there is good news, is that they visit Wolves on Saturday, and they do still have to play Leicester, Tottenham and Liverpool, 3 or 4 of the teams that are ahead of them in the table at the moment. Coming forward with Willett towards the edge of the Norwich City penalty area on the right-hand side. He's caught in possession by Hernandez, but at the expense of an Arsenal corner on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's why this game was a must-win game for Arteta and for Arsenal. They had to win it, otherwise I think they're going into those games that you've just mentioned. They're all difficult games, but they will go in on the back of 3 decent results now, Clive. So, from that point of view, things are starting to happen. There's a degree of confidence within the side, but they're going to have to be at their very top form. Wolves I've already seen, well, we've both seen them at West Ham. They're exceptionally good. And Leicester need the points. Spurs, Liverpool, big games now.
Ceballos will take this corner for Arsenal from the right-hand side. He's drilled it in almost at knee height. It's come out as far as Cedric, who strikes it left-footed and scores on his debut. Cedric Suarez makes it 4 for Arsenal. I doubt he even dreamt that last night. It came to him on the edge of the penalty area. The right-footed fullback hit it hopefully with his left foot and buried it in the corner. And he's had a frustrating wait with injuries to make his mark since January, but his frustrations are over.
Well, it didn't look like he was going to sit down for him, didn't it? He had one touch, but a lot of people coming out to close him down in Norwich shirts, but somehow he found a way through all those bodies, and it was a particularly good strike in the end. I think it did take a slight deflection, but no chance on this one for Krul. He would be unsighted as well.
Yeah, looping deflection off Onel Hernandez. He didn't actually change the direction of the shot very much, but it changed the trajectory of it. It looped up a little bit as Hernandez tried to block it, and as Krul dived down low, it flipped over him, and Arsenal lead by 4 this season. This endless season has now scored for Arsenal in his very first appearance for the club. They lead by 4-0. They're about to bring on Nicola Pepe, in place of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, whose hat-trick is going to be denied him. He was warming up for ages at the weekend to no avail. Aubameyang, he may have been thinking about the match ball this evening, because you feel as if Norwich are going to be there for the taking in these last 10 minutes, but he's smiling as he trots off, having parted company with the captain's armband, which is given rather controversially, it would have to be said, to Granit Xhaka. And Nicola Pepe will take his place for the closing stage. I never thought we'd see Granit Xhaka in the captain's armband again. Corner kick from the left-hand side for Arsenal. And it's just about game over here. It's taken short by Ceballos, back to Tierney. Now Ceballos will angle it in towards the far post. It's well defended by Teti. It loops up. Krul is able to prevent it from going for a corner kick. And it's going to be a long and painful farewell to the Premier League. It potentially matches in which they can influence their future, playing Brighton at home on Saturday, and then Watford, and then West Ham. But you'd have to feel as if they'd have to get into the mid-30s really to have any real chance of survival. They have 21 points as things stand heading away from here this evening.
He has been quoted saying they need 5 wins, Clive. You know, that's a massive ask, isn't it, from the remaining games?
Well, they certainly threatened to get back into this game. You have to say that Ben Godfrey did strike a half. They contributed to their own downfall with a couple of gifts for Aubameyang. But once more, it looks like another evening without a Premier League goal for Norwich City. That would be 1 in 8 Premier League games. And even though they threatened a little bit since the restart, the goal hasn't appeared. Hernandez running into traffic. It was a game run, but he was dispossessed by Xhaka. And Arsenal can bring the ball forward now with Nketiah just inside the Norwich City half of the field. Square to Kolasinac. All kinds of opportunities here. Tierney wide of him, crosses it in early. It's well defended by Teti, who is a wonderful example for those around him. Norwich City's longest serving player, captaining the side tonight. But all those blocks they made at the weekend in the FA Cup quarter-final to try to stay in that game, they really are going to have to defend through these closing minutes to prevent an absolute rout, because Arsenal look like they want some more. Ceballos to Nketiah, edge of the penalty area, skips one challenge and plays it square. It's struck by Willock. That's not very far away. He looks to the heavens, didn't miss by more than a foot that from the right-footed Joe Willock.
Well, we were right behind that, and it looked like it had nestled in the corner, mightily close. Krul wouldn't have got anywhere near it, but it had been just inside the post, that is for sure. They're just enjoying themselves now, Arsenal, aren't they? It's like a training ground exercise. Games won, points in the bag, and enjoying the football.
The youngest manager in the Premier League, 38, Mikel Arteta, one of the coolest in appearance and body language, standing in his technical area, his 20th game in charge. I wonder if he started looking for the grey hairs in the mirror in the morning yet. How long before he's looking for any hair at all. But evenings like this, which have been relatively stress-free by Premier League standards, will certainly help to keep him young. I think as a manager new to a club, new to the job, you're looking for leaders, guys who you can really rely on, set examples, do some of the managing for you. If you like how the Hendersons, the Companies, the Aspilicuetas. Have Arsenal got somebody like that? Pepe's just on the ball at the moment as they come forward. Still an option here with Cedric forward again, and Nketiah just teasing Norwich and eventually winning a corner. Have they got a backbone to move forward with?
I don't think they've got enough leaders, number one. I think they've got some good footballers. I think there are existing problems here. People on a lot of money. Ozil is one of them. He's got a problem there dealing with him. That are already here. They were here before the last manager, and Arsene Wenger, it has to be said, did leave some of those. As great a manager as he was, he left a shadow of the team that maybe he built.
Pepe's on the ball just outside the Norwich penalty area. Cedric plays it in low. Willock trying to protect the ball, is forced out of the penalty area. Cedric crosses it in again. It was another searching cross, but Norwich City defended it well. Godfrey did pretty well, and Tierney regains it for Arsenal. We've got news of another goal at the City Ground. Let's hear about that from Dave Rowe.
Actually, a red card, Clive. It's still Forest 1, Bristol City 0, and the visitors down to 10 men. Ashley Williams has seen red. Absolute stupidity from an experienced player. There were lots of strong challenges going in. Bristol City won a free kick, and then Williams lashed out at Yuri Rivero, who went down clutching his head, and the referee brandished a straight red card. Williams sent off the second time this season. Still Forest 1, Bristol City 0.
Nottingham Forest, I should say, poised to leap above Fulham on goal difference into 4th place in the Championship table. Still to come later on TalkSport 2 this evening. Live commentary on Sheffield Wednesday versus West Bromwich Albion since 7:45. Arsenal 4, Norwich City 0. Norwich coming forward though, inside the Arsenal penalty area. Edar plays it into Stiepermann, trying to turn on the edge of the 6-yard box, but Arsenal managed to defend their lines. I think Edar knows that he might have been offside, just trying to hold his position before fitting it back to McLean. Into Stiepermann again. David Luiz was a little bit more determined, ball forced out of play, and Arsenal have a throw in. If you were Stan Kroenke and you had all the money in the world and you were going to give it to Mikel Arteta, but I want you to buy A, B and C, what were the 3 positions you would want to strengthen in, Alvin?
I think they need 2 centre-halves, 2 leaders at the back. I still think they need a central midfielder who is like a Vieira that will score goals and also be dreadful to play against as well, Clive. I think, when you look at some of the great teams that they've had, they've always been strong right the way through the middle. But certainly two centre-halves. I don't think they're any closer to solving that problem. He's done okay tonight, Louise, but you have to take into consideration this is Norwich, who don't score many goals, and he's looked comfortable on the ball, as I know he would. But the winning mentality, 2 big centre-halves who are good athletes, who can play the way you want, but I think are battlers and leaders in every shape and form of the word.
In charge of this game now as we enter the final minute. Arsenal with 2 goals from Aubameyang, 1 from Xhaka, and 1 from Cedric, lead by 4 goals to 0. Ceballos back to Kolasinac and then square to Xhaka. In many respects, I think if Arsenal were choosing opponents, technical opponents who they would feel that they had more resources to play against, Norwich City might just be the team they would choose to play against. Willock out to Cedric on the right-hand side. He can cross into the penalty area. It's headed away by Teti, hooked on its way down the field by Vrancic, seized upon and fed forward by Dermich, but Norwich City have lost that spark that they had at the start of the second half. It'll be interesting to see Daniel Farke's team selection for the game on Saturday, whether he will start with some of the players that he's brought onto the field this evening, or whether he'll go back to the familiar, tried and trusted soldiers that were on duty, on parade from the outset tonight. 3 added minutes coming up here. I think if you're realistic, you maybe start to think about next season, do you? And who are the players who are going to be best suited to form a team to get back into the Premier League?
Absolutely, and I think they came into this season with not accepting relegation, but knowing that it was a distinct possibility, Clive. So I think all their budgets, all of their planning has been towards what would happen if we did go down. So I think it's not going to be a shock to them, that is for sure.
The club's very astute sporting director Stuart Webber is talking about understanding the long game as a club. He doesn't expect a mass exodus of players, and I think he does expect the manager to stay. Arsenal are coming forward looking for a 5th with Eddie Nketiah. He's got Pepe breaking to his right. He's held back though as he tries to charge forward. Stiepermann wasn't letting him run free and picks up a yellow card. Arsenal will have a free kick in Nicola Pepe country, about 7 or 8 paces outside the penalty area, just right of centre. Pepe has gone to gather the ball himself and will place it, and this may well be the last meaningful action of what has been a bit of a cruise for Arsenal, certainly since Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored his 2nd and Arsenal's 3rd midway through this second half. Any fires that the Norwich half-time substitutions lit were doused in that moment when Dermich's loose pass was turned past Krul by Aubameyang, who's reached 50 Premier League goals for the club this evening. Is there a fifth goal to end the night from either David Luiz or Nicola Pepe from this free kick? It's struck by Pepe, it's over the wall, but it's over the crossbar too, and goes away for a goal kick. We have a close-up of a very thoughtful-looking Mikel Arteta trying to assess exactly what he's seen this evening. He's used the 30th player that Arsenal have used in first-team action this season in the shape of Cedric Suarez. Don't know how many systems, I'm not sure how many captains they've had during the course of the season. It has been 3 managers, seemingly ongoing transition, and a club that's still trying to find a true identity post Arsene Wenger in so many ways. Norwich City ending the evening on the attack. Cedric Suarez cutting the ball out, played forward to Willock midway inside his own half of the field.